Hello, everyone. Welcome to Johnson County Community College. How many of you, this is your first time to the college? Awesome, awesome. Well, welcome. I am Joy Rhodes. I am the Department Chair of Fashion Design and Merchandising here at the college, one of our many creative careers here at the college. So I was asked to come here and share a little bit about my background and how I wound up in fashion and a creative career, and also introduce you guys to some career options that you may not have thought about that are fashion related, as well as talk a little bit about our program here at the college. After my quick presentation, I was planning to take the group on a tour, a walking tour, so you can see. I know that we have a lot of visual learners here in the classroom. See a little bit of the college, a very small part of the college, and see our department and some creative people in the classroom. So I'm going to start out about myself. Again, I'm Joy Rhodes. I was one of the rare people when I was young that wound up doing what I wanted to do when I was 8 years old. That's very rare. I started out learning to sew. My mom taught me how to sew. I know that's kind of a rare thing these days. Anybody sew in here? Awesome, I love it. Making clothes for my Barbie dolls, right, when I was 8 years old. Went to high school, took some classes in high school at a local community college, learning to sew a little bit more. Graduated from college with a design degree, a fashion design degree, and went to work in the industry as a designer. And now, consequently, I'm teaching students how to design. It's pretty rare to go to college and actually do what you set out to do when you were 8 years old. I worked in the industry for several years, about 15 years before I became a teacher. I worked as a designer doing men's golf apparel. That sounds very sexy. I did women's knits, I did men's neckwear, lots of different types of design before I went into the technology field. And I wound up developing or working for a software developer that developed software for design careers. So we'll talk a little bit about technology later, but still a creative field, right? Just doing it digitally on the computers. So talking a little bit about careers in fashion. Anybody have any ideas of what a career path might look like if you were in fashion? The logical one, fashion designer, right? There's a whole lot more than fashion designer pathways in our field that are creative other than just being a fashion designer, right? So we're going to start out, we're going to break down our industry from the raw materials, the very beginning, all the way to the consumer and everything in between, and talk a little bit about some career opportunities that you may not have thought about. So starting in what we call the primary markets. These are the raw materials that go into making fashion, right? So we have textiles. Everybody in here is affected by textiles, right? It's illegal for us to go naked. So we have, so there are careers in textiles that are on all facets of the curriculum. You have textile science. Science is very heavily involved in fashion. You have textile design, surface design, so developing prints or patterns for clothing. Like I've got a pattern on, many of you guys might have patterns in your clothing as well. Designing the textiles themselves, weaving, knitting, right, things like that. Those are creative outlets for in the primary markets. You also have some business built in there, right? We are in the business department for a reason. Trade shows, selling, transaction, selling from the raw materials market to the designers or the product developers, right, is a big career, as well as just being in raw materials. And we think about raw materials, and it's just not just fabric, but it's also leather, things for plastics, things like that, that are anything that you're going to be making a product out of is considered a raw material. A lot of career opportunities in there. You can see here some prints and patterns. The second facet of our industry is the product developer. So you go from raw materials into creating products, right? So this is where our traditional fashion designers have a career. But there's a lot more than just one fashion designer to bring a product to life, right? It takes a team of people, and the designer is just one facet. So you have apparel designers, which is a creative field. You also have sourcing. So these are the people that go out and work looking for raw materials or looking for production. They're out there finding ways to get products made, both here domestically and overseas. So a large opportunity for travel, right, if you're in the sourcing department. Production, you guys mentioned you guys sew here. So for every one creative person, designer, there is a whole team of technical designers that are making things happen. So you can have a great idea, but if you can't get it made, then it's not a great idea. So these are the people that make things happen, right? They figure out how to develop a pattern, how to get it sourced, how to get it made, how it goes together. So production is a large part of this facet of the industry. You also have the people that are responsible for selling those products to the retailers or to the consumer, right? So there's that bridge, that gap between product development and the next sector, which is the retail sector. So retail has changed over the course of the last number of years, but we still teach, or we still have opportunities in both. Retail is that bridge, that gap between the product developer and the consumer, right? So you guys are all consumers. So we have retail management. This is at the retail level, like at the store, brick and mortar level, right? You have large box, big box retailers like Nordstrom here locally, or you have also small independent boutiques, right? So that would be considered retail as well. You also have online stores, right? That's where most of us shop these days. But it's still a facet of retail, right? It's still a bridge between the product developer and the consumer. A lot of creative careers in that realm as well. So retail management, fashion buying. Buying is also includes an element of assortment planning. So that's a creative outlet as well. So picking products for certain demographics or certain people is a very creative field. Visual display, and the visual display can be both like in-store as well as online. Being able to put together products or assortments of products for people, enticing them to want to buy, right? That's the whole goal, is for them to want to buy. So visual display and visual merchandising is a very creative field as well. Obviously being a sales representative. Big one in this sector is social media marketing. It's increasingly becoming more and more popular. We even buy products now on social media. So this is a career path, a creative career path, a digital creative career path that could be maybe you haven't thought of. And then of course online retail merchandising. Then our last sector is kind of everything else that is related to fashion. So we've already talked about raw materials, talked about product development, talked about the retail. Those are kind of a given. Now we also have a lot of things that are surrounding that as a career path that could be creative. So we actually host a big fashion show, which we were just talking about recently, here on campus. But fashion shows, event planning is a big deal in our industry, right? So this involves a lot of moving parts, a lot of creativity in order to sell products. Modeling is part of that, right? It's a creative career. We have a pretty good connection with the beauty industry, which has a lot of career opportunities as well. So if you're talking about hair and makeup, teaching people how to walk, photography, fashion photography is another career path that's creative. Editorial, so anybody in here like magazines or writing possibly. Fashion editorial and fashion editor is also another creative career path that you may not have thought about. Being a stylist, Every good photo shoot has a good stylist behind it, right? Somebody that is picking the clothing or the outfits and or the accessories that go together for a photo shoot or for a television show or for a theater, right? You guys probably have seen lots of fashion on TV these days, right? It's all very carefully curated and picked by a stylist. Trend prediction, this is a career path that I wish I would have gone into. It wasn't really a thing when I was your age, but now you have services that serve up trends or predict trends for the industry. These are people that go out and travel, sit in coffee shops, go to cities, look, watch, see what's going on, and then they package that up and they serve that to the retailers or the product developers and say, hey, this is what's coming. What a fun job. There are some pretty big companies out there that do trend forecasting, and just an interesting career path, creative career path. Public relations, and then of course the big one right now is influencers, right? Anybody in here think that they're an influencer or want to be an influencer? Usually get a couple of hands from high school. Anybody follow influencers? Right? Yes. It is actually a career that you can make money being an influencer. They get paid endorsements, they get free product, a lot of that kind of stuff. So those are the 4 sectors. Our program touches a little bit of all 4 of those sectors. We introduce students to the whole gamut, the whole industry. So talking about our program here at the college, I think we're kind of a hidden gem at the college, but we have, under our umbrella of fashion design and merchandising, we have 2 degree paths. They are 2-year programs. We are a community college. One is in the product development side of the business, which is apparel design and technology. Talk a little bit more about this program in a second. And then we also have merchandising and marketing, 2 different degree paths. Starting out first in our AAS for apparel design and technology, these are the students that are hands-on learners. These are the ones that like to get project-based, doing things with their hands. So students that are interested in this might go into the product development side of the business, but they learn in their classes different skills that will be needed in the industry. Things like illustration, sketching, flat sketching, draping, which is basically taking fabric and 3-dimensionally molding it on a dress form to create a garment and a pattern for a garment. Obviously, apparel construction. When we go on our tour, we'll see the lab where the students will be working in the construction lab. Pattern making is drafting. It involves math. I know that's a 4-letter word that a lot of us don't like, but we teach math in a practical application. So sometimes people that think they're terrible at math, the light bulb comes on when it's something that they're interested in or that they get, right? So pattern making involves math. It's one thing to make a pattern or a garment. It's another thing to make it fit somebody well. So we teach students how to adjust or manipulate a garment to make it fit a certain type of body. We also have an element of technology built into this side of the program. So we do CAD, computer-aided design. We do pattern making. We also use the Adobe Creative Suite. Many of you guys probably have been introduced to that in high school. But we teach those skills as it relates to fashion. And then we also have what are called a PLM system, which is a product lifecycle management system. It's a database that houses all of the details that are necessary to make a product. And that is then how you communicate with somebody overseas to get a product made, right? Most of our apparel, unfortunately, right now is made in foreign countries, right? So you need to have these tech packs or PLM systems to communicate visually. On the merchandising and marketing side, another creative career, we have classes, these are the people that want to work on the retail side, right, or the to-consumer side of the business. Students learn store planning, which has an element, again, of technology built into it. They use SmartDraw to do floor plan drawings as well as elevations for visual merchandising. So the technology is big in this field as well. Visual merchandising, I mentioned earlier, putting together outfits or ensembles to try and entice the consumer to purchase, right, to buy. It is a business. The goal is to sell things. Planning and control, this is, again, a practical application of math, right? It goes along with buying. Buying involves money. Money is math. Again, if students are saying, oh, I hate math, I don't do math, when you do it and it's something that means something to you and something you're passionate about, it becomes more relevant and easier, right? Marketing and social media marketing, huge on this side of the business. Professional selling, interfacing with consumers and customers, determining customers is very big on this side of the business as well. Relationships. So our programs start out together. They have a set of core classes that are kind of sort of introductory classes. They branch out in two completely separate directions, and then they come back together at the end for our annual fashion show. So our design students are required to participate in the show as a part of their graduation requirements. We have a show coming up for you teachers in April. If you want to get on the list, we have a noon show that is all high school students. And then on the merchandising side, they are responsible for the event planning, helping behind the scenes, as well as the marketing. So they do all the social media marketing. They interface with the design students to execute the show. So they're both required to participate in our show. It is no small deal. It's a very big show. We host it right over here in the culinary building in the atrium. And we set it up like a runway show, right? So there's chairs lining both sides. And we use students as models, and we pull off, it's usually about an hour long. These are some behind-the-scenes pics from last year's show. We also have built into our curriculum, history is big, right? We can learn a lot from what's happened in the past. We'll take you on a tour, quick drive-by to see our historic fashion collection, which right now is used as a teaching tool. Just about every class that we have, or most classes that we have an element of getting inside the collection or bringing the collection into the classroom. We have a history of fashion class, that's a logical one. When you hit the 20th century, we can see things rather than just looking at slides or drawings and things like that. My product development class uses it for inspiration. Maybe they're inspired by a certain decade or a certain designer, or maybe an element of design that they think is really interesting, and they can use that as a springboard for jumping off and creating and going from there. Illustration uses it to render different types of fabrics. We use it also for terminology, like if you're learning what is a gusset, what is a leg of mutton sleeve, what is a raglan sleeve, what is a bishop sleeve. Rather than looking at just a photograph, we can actually take students into the collection to show them real things, right? We are all visual learners. We also have opportunities for study abroad and travel for credit. We have had students going to Italy for the last 7 years to study in Florence. What better place to study fashion than in one of the fashion capitals of Europe? And they take classes in the summer, and then those credits transfer back to the college towards their degree. We also take students to New York, which isn't abroad, but it feels very foreign sometimes. But we take them for a fashion-related New York tour. It's a 5-day tour. We also, just this coming summer is our first trip. We're doing a faculty-led study abroad to Paris, France, which is another fashion capital of Europe. So opportunities for travel. Fashion is a global thing, right? We also have pathways. Some of these schools you may have heard of. These are all 4-year universities all around the country that have fashion programs, reputable fashion programs. And all of these schools will take our credits seamlessly. meaning that you can do 2 years here, get your feet wet, build a great portfolio, and then transfer to a 4-year university and do 2 more years to get a bachelor's degree. So you probably recognize some of the, you guys recognize FIT is probably the #1 fashion school in the country. SCAD is another big one, right, that is very reputable. But we also have ASU FITM, which is on the West Coast. We've got some here locally if people don't want to move or move too far away to study fashion and get a bachelor's. These are our kooky students. We pride ourselves in building a sense of community. We have a bunch of like-minded people, and we encourage them to get to know each other. We foster relationships, lifelong friendships, things like that, because you never know where that person that you met in your first class in college might end up and what door that might open up for you in the future. So we do a lot of things outside of the classroom to get students involved in networking and getting to know each other. So I think Lucy's one of our students. She can attest to us encouraging people to become friends and building friendships outside the classroom, because we are all like-minded fashionistas. So any questions? I think that's it. Oh, you can follow us at FashionJCCC. It's a great way to see what goes on in our classroom. In our classrooms and in our program. We're constantly putting content up or featuring our students, featuring events that are going on here in the community that are fashion related. So follow us at FashionJCCC. Questions? You guys ready to go on a tour?